And what's happening now, because things are getting desperate, we're converting tar sands into oil, fracking. These are indications that there is desperation to keep this whole system going. If the world was masses of oil, we wouldn't be drilling 200 kilometres off the coast. So all the evidence indicates that everything I say is perfectly right. And everything that the council says and does is completely wrong.
What I'm seeing.
I'm not. I don't want to criticise you as a person, but this is what I'm seeing.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is, are you talking to the right agencies who actually can therefore? Because at the end of the day, we have quite a defined role
yes.
in the Local Government Act in terms of it. The TRC has a.
But can we just look at the Local Government Act? Now, the Local Government Act says, amongst other things, that the council is required to protect the environment in the present and in the future. And it's not doing that at all.
But if they'd said, we are protecting the environment in a number of ways.
But we're not. We're destroying it.
But the things about it is it might not be in the way that you think is the most appropriate.
But, this is the biggest item of all. It just swamps everything else. Everything and nothing. If the planet becomes completely uninhabitable by 2040, you can imagine what it's going to be like by 2025. The halfway point, it's going to be dire. We're talking about mass starvation, including in this district. Because much of our food comes, we don't grow it here. We produce a lot of milk.
Grass.
But all the rice, all the wheat, everything else is all being brought in. So we're facing mass starvation in this community, I can't say when, depending on how rapidly this goes, in 10 years. There's no plan whatsoever for that. No mention of it. We don't talk about it at all. And this is surely, we're talking about death and destruction here. Surely that rate's higher than entertainment, and yet it doesn't.
Well, the question would be is if that was one of the things in terms of the outcomes and because it's looked at, we would get a central government direction that those are the things that we should be considering.
But I don't want to personalise this. It's not nothing here is personal.
No, I understand that.
I have written to government. I've spoken with government ministers. I saw Harry Dynhoven when he was a government minister. I went through all of this stuff. He's got a copy of that book. And what happens? He takes absolutely no notice whatsoever. And do you know why? Because the government is not actually a government at all. It's simply a local agency for global corporations and moneylenders. That's all the government is. And the only agenda of any government is to promote the interests of corporations and moneylenders. And that's why we get all this stuff about economic growth, because the whole financial system is totally dependent on this Ponzi scheme getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I hate to say it, but Harry Dynhoven is actually a fascist, because as Associate Minister for Current Resources, the first thing he did was sign away all our rights to minerals to an overseas corporation. Nothing about protecting the environment, and this just goes on and on and on. Now, when I made my presentation to the council about this, Harry then said, have you taken it up with your MP? Now, I'm talking about his policies, the policies that he endorses and has signed off. He and Barbara, between them, produced this, not themselves, of course, but they've signed it off and said, this is our plan. So when I say to Harry, this is your plan and it's terrible, he says, take it up with your MP. Well, where's the logic in this? There isn't any, is there? Do you see what I'm saying? It just goes, everybody buck passes. I've taken this whole thing as far as the Ombudsman. And what happens? Nothing. They won't touch it. The State Services Commission won't touch it. Nobody in the system will touch it. Everybody runs. The Serious Fraud Office, run. Everybody runs. And as soon as I walk out the door, everybody's, good, he's gone. We can get back to destroying the future. That's what's happening. And when I wrote this book, it was a theoretical possibility, in fact a probability. Now it's happening 10 times faster than I imagined. When I wrote that book, I was talking about maybe around the year 2100 we're going to be in dire straits in terms of climate. I knew damn well that the oil situation was not good, and I actually wrote in this book 10 years ago that we were going to be in trouble between 2010 and 2015. There it is in the small print there. On climate, I wrote we're going to be in trouble above 360 parts per million. Here we are, in deep trouble. And what's happening? Nobody's responding. Well, there are like 10 people around the world. I mean, that's a slight exaggeration. About 10 people for every 1,000 that are actually responding and interested, and everybody else just carries on as if nothing's wrong. And as I've spoken with a lot of people about this, and the last person I spoke to about it was Marianne Priest. And I said, well, if you're heading for a cliff, when to put the brakes on? Well, obviously, a long time before you get to the cliff. If we don't do something about this now, we can't do something about it in 10 years' time, because we're actually in the mess. Well, we're already in the mess.
You don't want to be in a position of saying, "I told you so." Is what you're saying.
But I already am. I already am in that position, Cathy, and it's frightening, because in November of 2007, I said to the council, all the financial markets have peaked. Get your money out. And they took absolutely no notice. Now, the Dow at that time was 14,400. Today it's 12,900. That's 5 years later. Now, if you allow for inflation, which over the last 5 years, I mean, I don't know, even if you said it was only 10% in 5 years, which is not, probably about 30%. So that 12,900, you knock off 30% from it, in real terms, it's down to about 8,000 or 9,000 compared to the 14. Do you see what I'm saying? And I say all this stuff, and nobody takes any notice at all. And I just thought, what is going on? It's like, I don't wish to be rude, it's like people come into this place and they immediately switch their brains off. And everything's so corporate, oh, well, we just got to tick the boxes. Now, where do we go from here? I'm not expecting you to respond this afternoon, or even in the next week. But I would like you to think about this, if you wouldn't mind. You've got a copy of that. And what's interesting, Chris Hedges talks about how the Jews were warned about what was coming, and they didn't respond. And the Jewish community leader said, oh, well, yeah, look, if they want us to wear badges, we'll wear it. Oh, we've got to wear armbands, yeah, we'll do that. Oh, they want us to walk in the gutter, yes, we'll do that. Okay, they want us to all live in this ghetto, yes, we'll do that. They want us to get onto these trains. It's all right, it's a resettlement programme. Don't worry, get on the train. Even getting into the shower rooms. A lot of these people thought that they were just going to get cleaned up and they were all going to go off and live in a happy camp. And it wasn't until the gas canister dropped that they actually realised what their predicament was. And this is human nature. And I don't know, as I say, there's a small group of people who are awake, aware, and understand all this stuff. Most people don't understand it, and it's not their fault. They don't have the scientific knowledge or the academic knowledge. They don't know how the money system works. It's all beyond them. And I wouldn't expect a bus driver to deal with this, but I would expect my local authority, which is responsible for the future of this district, to deal with this stuff. And it's not happening. So that's it's in fact what I see happening is completely bizarre. Now, about a month ago, I'm not quite sure the timing now, we had this thing about earthquake. Well, that advice was completely wrong. If there's an earthquake, the last thing you do is get under something. Now, I've seen these reports about survivors of earthquakes and the people that go around searching around. If you're in a car, get out of the car and lie down next to the car, because if the thing collapses, right, there's the thing, boom! Oh, there's a void space there. You survive. If you're inside the car, splat, you get crushed. Right? If you're in a building, if it's if it's just a bit of light ceiling, that's not going to do you much, right? But if anything major, you get in underneath there, you get crushed next to an item of furniture is the right place, or in a doorway. And if it's a minor earthquake, you're actually better off getting out of the building. This is what happened in the Napier earthquake. The people that rushed outside survived. And so we have Harry Duynhoven telling us completely the wrong thing. And this is, again, presumably is coming from central government. Well, if we can't even get an earthquake drill right, what can we get right? It's frightening. I am absolutely terrified.
Well,
and everybody seems to be quite happy with this situation.
Well, thank you for sharing that with me. I do need to go to another meeting now.
Yes.
And I will read this.
And think about that. And I don't know whether you are powerless and this whole thing is just going to trundle along until we do get mass starvation and collapse of the economy. I mean, it's happening in Greece, it's happening in Portugal and Spain, it's already happening. This is not like theoretical stuff, it's already happening. There are 44 or 48 million people on food stamps in America now. And this is going to bring it all down in the next 2 or 3 years. The whole system is going to crash. There's absolutely no question about it. It's just the timing I can't give you. Next year, or well, I say before 2015. No, just before you go, I'll give you that. Because I've got hundreds of those and it's beyond the point of selling them. I can't give you this, but I do encourage you to get a copy of that because everything you need to know is in that book. The whole thing, the money system, the environment, how we got into this, the whole thing about colonisation, how that occurred, why it occurred. And I've read it's small, easily readable. I'm selling it for $20. That's the best book anybody can get.
Okay, keep it in mind. Thank you very much.
Right, well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And hopefully we can make some progress on this, but not quickly, I know that. Thank you.